Hey, this is James Frazier with the Walker Stalkers Podcasts and Walker Stalker Con, and you're listening to Creech Questions.
Hey everybody out there, welcome back to part 2 of Creech Questions this week. Yes, it did become a two-parter, but when you have a special guest on, like Vernon and Jordan, it's quite alright, in my opinion, if the segment goes long. I do want to give special thanks again to Jordan Woods-Robinson for helping arrange Corey Brill, Daniel Bonjour, Michael Trenor, and Ross Marquand to come on and give Vernon some words of encouragement. I feel extremely honored to have been a part of that, and it's almost indescribable. Just the thankfulness right now I have for all 4 and 5 of those guys, and for being able to at least be in a place where I could help arrange that to happen. Now, our guest tonight is James Frazier, and as you heard at the beginning of the podcast, and as you probably know, James is one of the co-creators of Walker Stalker Con, and he is the host of the Walker Stalkers Podcast. Now, I've talked about it multiple times on here before, and I've also told James, you'll hear a little bit of it in the actual interview. I was an attendee at the original Walker Stalker Con in Atlanta in 2013. On a whim, I decided to bring a flip video camera just to record everything going on. No ulterior motive, just, like I said, I've assumed at that point that it was going to be just a one-time thing. So, for, I guess, videographic evidence, or for memory's sake, I wanted to capture the goings-on, because I was only there on the Saturday. And I recorded it, filmed everything, got it home, started putting it together, and realized that, you know, this would be really cool. I think other people would enjoy it, especially those that hadn't got to experience it, because I got home that Saturday, started working on it that Sunday. They hadn't officially announced a new Walker Stalker Con yet, so it was just, I wanted to share my time and my experiences, and I figured other people would. And I shared it. James and Eric got in touch with me and said that they loved it. And that alone helped inspire me to get back to doing this Creech creative thing. And since then, I've been to 2 Walker Stalker Cons at Atlanta's. Since the inaugural, I've been to every single one in Atlanta. I've been to Boston. I've been to Orlando. I'll be going to New York, New Jersey in under 2 weeks. And I'll also get to go to many other places, which is really, really exciting. We got our press approval for London, and it's just going to be an amazing time. The thing is, I'm not an employee of Walker Stalker Con. I do my Creech Creative Productions thing, and I do promote their stuff a lot, and I will always promote anything James does, whether it's Heroes, Villains, Fan Fest, Walker Stalker Con, because yes, like he will say in the podcast, the successes I'm reaping now are because of the hard work I'm putting into it. But in the end, it all started, and I was able to put in this work because of the work that they did for Walker Stalker Con. So if you haven't yet, definitely go on WalkerStalkerCon.com or check out Heroes and Villains Fan Fest to see when they are coming to cities near you. James is going to announce a new location on tonight's podcast, so listen close. I hope you enjoy it. It's a great interview. James is a wonderful guest, and enjoy.
So, how has the convention life been going?
It's good. I tell people all the time, it's like that dream that you never realized you even had coming true. It's been an amazing time. Every time we get to a convention week, it's just unbelievable what we're about to put on and what we get to do now for a living. I mean, because this really was just for fun to start with, but now to call it a job, It's amazing and it's humbling at the same time.
Oh yeah, and it did start all with the podcast with you
Yep.
and Eric, and you are obviously a fan of entertainment. You've mentioned, I believe, quite a few times on the podcast that you were a huge fan of Lost. What about The Walking Dead made you want to start a podcast?
Well, I think it was twofold. I think one, it was the opportunity Eric and I had when we went down there and visited the set, because we were just probably fans of the show, meaning more like casually, which is I would say most people are. But then going down and meeting the cast and having that opportunity and getting can't say we got to know them, but got to interact with them and see that these are like really genuinely good people and they appreciated their fans, I think made us appreciate it even more. So there was that, and then we wanted to tell people about it. So Eric and I talked about Lost a ton, and a podcast that I used to listen to all the time, which was the Lost podcast with Jay and Jack. I was just thinking, Eric and I, Eric, we could do this. We could do this as, start our story here with our, the opportunity we had on set, and then continue to talk about that, but then talk about the show. And really, it was just something fun for Eric and I to do on top of everything else, just, being goofy and talking about, The Walking Dead and just having fun. And that's really all it was.
As you said, you went down there. That was season 3, correct?
Yeah, they were actually shooting. It was the final day of taping for season 3. It was the we actually got to see 2 scenes taped, but one of them we really got to see close, and that was the scene where Rick and Michonne and Daryl come to the gates of Woodbury, and they're let in by Sasha and Tyrese.
Okay. And as you were saying, it all started from that. And eventually it led to you running a Kickstarter to fund Walker Stalker Con. Now, in the beginning, I know it was kind of hit and miss at the very beginning. I'm just hoping you reached the goal.
Right.
Did you ever think, looking back, that Walker Stalker Con would grow to be as big as it has? And honestly, what surprises you most about its success?
Well, we did a couple harder, and so we knew that there were fans who wanted to get together, and that was something that Eric and I enjoyed the most doing podcasts, was getting the opportunity for the fans to interact with the cast. So that was the idea about the fan meetups, and really Walker Stalker Con was just supposed to be kind of like a fan meetup on steroids. And we really were only expecting like 1,500 people. I mean, we really weren't expecting a lot. We didn't plan initially for a whole lot of people, but as the Kickstarter came together and got funded and tickets started to sell and we started to get an idea of the scope of this, that we started to realize we were going to have a lot more people. But at the same time, too, once some of the bigger stars of the show started to get behind it, like Norman Reedus and, of course, Andrew Lincoln, we realized, that Atlanta was going to be something special, and it was. We couldn't believe what we put together that first year. But then once we got done with Atlanta, word spread pretty quick about the Atlanta event, because that first year Rolling Stone covered it, and USA Today, and CNN, and Fox News, and so we had all these outlets covering it. So people were reaching out to us, wanting us to bring it to different cities. And so we were nervous about that too, because we had no idea what to expect. But we had such a good time putting on the first one that we would give it a shot, and we did that with Chicago, and the reception was even greater than it was in Atlanta, because of just all the additional publicity that Atlanta provided for it. So then we just kept kind of responding to where people wanted to go, and really what we could do within our means, because at that time, Eric and I were still both working our normal full-time jobs, and so this was still kind of a side thing at that time. But it was just, we were going where the people wanted it, and now just to continue to see the response, really, we're into we consider this like the start of our 3rd year. I mean, our years go with the start of each Atlanta. So this is now our third year, and the demand hasn't died off at all, and that people still want us to bring it to different cities, and so we're excited to do that. And I've always said, as long as we can, if people still want it, we'll still bring it. There's no real long-term business plan to this, and we're just going where the people want it.
Yeah, I actually was down there for the original Atlanta. That actually inspired me to get back into this and everything. So a lot of anything I've accomplished is owed to you and Eric, for sure.
No. We can't take any credit for anybody else. All we do is just try to, get people excited about this stuff. And so if we did that, well, I'll take that. But you've got to put in your own effort, and of course you're doing that, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you. And luckily, I've been able to attend quite a few of the others as press, and it seems like every single one I go to, it's topping the one before it. How hard is it to continually improve and top each previous con before?
It's really hard. I still think a lot of people believe that you just kind of, these things get put together overnight. But I mean, we're already starting planning Atlanta for next year. I mean, we've already secured the venue. Actually checks in the mail for the venue for next year, and we've got the hotel secured, and we'll start planning all the things right away. I mean, last year, literally at Walker Stalker Con, I had my first encounter with Skybound and with Michael Counts, and that was the thing that started the Walking Dead experience, which arrived in Atlanta this year. And there's a lot of things we wanted to bring this year that we just didn't really have the time to execute, that we'll be bringing for next year. And we listen to everybody. I mean, even when the complaints are tough and they're critical, and that person might be wrong, their experience is what they experienced, and we can't devalue that. So we listen to everything and try to build on it for each year. But we want more for people to do. I mean, we've put a lot of money back into the company, and we get critics all the time thinking that we're riding on our high horse. But there's really most of the money is going back into the event and building on it so we can have more to do. And we've got some great things for next year too that I think people will be excited, and they may actually spring up in some of the conventions, during the course of this year. But by the time we get back to Atlanta next year, it'll be even bigger, and there'll be more for people to do.
You were stating you did start the Walking Dead experience, and I believe that run is still going on in Atlanta right now. How is it going to work with adding additional chapters? It's just one chapter right now you experience, right?
It's chapter 1 with some slight revisions. It was kind of we do everything else. We listened to some of the experience that people had, and most of them were very positive, but we thought there was room for improvement, so we kind of shut it down and worked on it for a couple weeks here to get it open again. We've altered the ending, I think, to make it more authentic with the storyline, the overall storyline that we're going to take with each chapter, but also to make it the experience even better for people. But the idea really is to run each chapter for a year. So we take this experience through for a year, and then we'll add chapter 2 to it. And meaning, like, chapter 1 will still run, but chapter 2 will then be established and set up, and will operate right next to it. So when people come, they'll be able to do chapter 1, and if they want to, go on to chapter 2, or if they did chapter 1 and want to go for chapter 2, then that's what they'll do. But it's to build, and I don't know how many chapters there are, honestly. Michael Counts, who's the creator of the design and the storyline of it, he's got it in his mind as to how many chapters that are going to be involved. But we really want to take this and let people really feel like they're in the world of The Walking Dead. And I mean, yes, I'm behind it and helped put it together, but I really feel like we accomplished that. I really feel like it's an immersive experience like nothing else anybody's done.
I've heard nothing but positive things from it. I was talking with Michael Trenor in Atlanta, and he said he had a blast doing that.
Cool. That's awesome.
What is your funnest and funniest memory now that we're in 3 years doing Walker Stalker Con?
You know, my favorite memory still is because I think it shows the heart of Walker Stalker Con. The first year we had Andrew Lincoln there in Atlanta. People were just so excited because Andy hadn't done anything like this before. We had a young boy who had come with his mom. He was probably about 10, 11, 12 years old, and he had cut out of a magazine a picture of Andrew Lincoln, and that is what he wanted Andy to sign. And he was so nervous, and he got to the table in tears because he was so excited. I mean, he just idolized and adored Andrew Lincoln, and Andy brought him around and gave him a real photo, an 8x10, and just talked to him and spent time with him. And literally everybody in the room was in tears. I mean, it was just such a touching moment. And I think it did two things. It was exactly the experience we wanted for people to have. Eric and I, although we weren't in tears when we went, we were just ecstatic about the whole thing. And so there was that, but then also too, it was kind of just a moment where we did it. This is we accomplished what we wanted, and that was to just create moments for people, and that's what we do. And we tell our staff and our volunteers to look throughout the weekend when they can create a moment for somebody where somebody might be having a hard time, or they don't feel like they're getting what they want, to make that person feel special. We say it all the time now. We want to treat the actors like guests and the guests like celebrities, and it's not to diminish the value for our celebrities when they come, because we take very good care of them, but we want our attendees to feel like they're the reason that Walker Stalker Con is there, and it's true. It really is. We take great heart, and we are so sensitive. I mean, if you could see the text threads and hear the dialogue we are still so super sensitive to people when they're having a hard time or when there's criticism, because we care deeply. We really want every convention to be just the most amazing time for people.
I agree, and you guys do an amazing job. I know this year I had talked to Eric at the beginning of the year about I had heard a story about Justin. He has a Facebook page, and he's not going to be able to make much traveling anymore. He wanted to meet the cast of The Walking Dead, and I knew I had talked to his mom a couple of times, and I got her in touch with you and Eric, and y'all got her in with VIP passes, and I know from the smiles on his face he had an amazing weekend in Atlanta.
Yeah, and that's the stuff we love. I mean, I give everybody full authority to make moments like this happen for people. It's look, the $40 for an autograph, or the $60 for a photo, or pulling somebody to the front of the line, or if it means upgrading somebody to a VIP pass, that's having a tough time. It's not about the dollar. It's about the experience for people, and so we really, really want people to have that every time. So Eric's story, and I know my staff, they all have their own stories, and they're all special, and so it's just really it makes doing this it makes doing this even better than what I think we thought it would be.
As you're saying, Walker Stalker Con has grown each year. I believe it was 50,000 in Atlanta this year.
I think we came in just under, right around 47,000.
I don't know if you can officially announce anything yet, but what new locations are you excited to take the con to, or are you thinking about taking it to in the next couple of years?
Well, we haven't announced it, but we've kind of teased it. We're going to Charlotte this year. We'll be announcing that here, I think, next week. And we're we're exploring some of the West Coast cities. We really want to get back out. We love the San Francisco event, and it just didn't come together again this year. We're trying to make it happen. We could go to San Jose, but we'd really like to get back to San Francisco. But we're really excited about trying to get somewhere West Coast, Phoenix, Portland, Seattle, somewhere like that. But on the East Coast, we don't want to saturate it beyond what it is because, a lot of people drive 3 or 4 hours, and if we put one too close, we're afraid that people won't, they won't go to one or the others. And we don't want to. We want each one to be a strong event. We don't want it to feel like it's hurting another event by being too close.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it does seem with each one that you have a different theme for it, which I definitely agree helps keep them separate.
Yeah, the thing is we're fans, so it's kind of like, well, man, what else would we like to see? And we had a great time with the Gotham guys down in Orlando, and wanted to bring them back and bring them back in a bigger group, and we're able to do that for New York. And Atlanta's kind of theme this year was more of an emphasis on horror with Robert Englund and Kane Hodder and Dennis O'Hare. We really were trying to add more horror, kind of the big guns to that event. And so, yeah, each one has its own character and own personality. And the good thing is that the actors have a great time. So they do a lot of promotion for us too. They'll talk to their friends and they'll bring them along. So that's kind of the themes are definitely there. We always try to keep it fresh, and it makes it fun for us too because we're fans and we want to go to and not only work it, but then get to grab a photo or grab an autograph or listen to a panel ourselves. So that's always a neat thing to do.
For you, who has been some of your favorite of the celebrity guests there to meet at the various cons?
Robert Englund was a big one for me because I went as Freddy Krueger in 4th grade, and so that was a huge one to actually meet somebody that you dressed up as a kid. So that was cool. So I love that. I kind of like, of course, everybody with The Walking Dead has been phenomenal, and that was the dream to put that together. I think also, too, I do love the little one-off stuff. I really enjoyed it when we had the Doctor Who cast out in San Francisco. It was neat to meet them. I loved having the Lost people. I certainly wish there would have been more support by the fans for them. But it didn't, it didn't work out there. I don't know. There's been so many, but I would definitely say that the Lost people I got really excited about, especially when we had Elizabeth Mitchell, who's Juliet, and of course with Henry and Cusick, who was Desmond. Those are big ones for me, just because it's my favorite show.
Now we're gonna switch over to a little bit more about the podcast too, as well.
Okay.
This one's kind of a dual question. Let's say 10 years from now, what do you hope to have accomplished with both the con, being Walker Stalker Con and FanFest, and the podcast?
The biggest thing is, are we still having fun? Are we having fun doing the podcast? That's the most important thing to me, because there was a period when Eric left here in the last few months, leading up to this season. I think it was the time I was doing Fear the Walking Dead coverage. I just wasn't having a good time, and I think it was one, Eric leaving the podcast, but two, I wasn't really enjoying Fear the Walking Dead. So I think I was just kind of in a place where I wasn't excited about it. But as the season came close for The Walking Dead again, I got really excited about doing the podcast, and and I think I've found a format now for it, with having the actors on for the first 15 minutes and then doing the instant reaction that I actually enjoy. And so I'm excited about it again, and it's fresh. So I think the excitement aspect is the biggest thing, and that carries into the conventions as well. if our heart's not in it, it's going to come through when it comes time to do these events. And I think people see that, without naming any other conventions, when there's no heart behind it, when it's just pure corporate or it's just about the dollar, I think the quality comes through on the convention and people see that and they lose interest. And so I think if we're still excited about it and our heart's in it, that'll be a good thing. And then in terms of just like where I see it, I always see Atlanta being around. I see that being like the event for Walker Stalker Con. Do I know how long they'll go on in each city? I really don't. But that's also kind of why we've moved into doing these Heroes and Villains Fan Fest, so we can cover some other shows that we love that may not necessarily be a fit for Walker Stalker Con, because we found that we did Arrow in Chicago a couple years ago and it just didn't work, but we loved working with that cast. And so that's what this new opportunity is. And of course, fanfest.com is getting ready to launch here in the next couple of weeks, and that's just going to be an entertainment resource and outlet for us. And so I think if our hearts are in it and the excitement's there, people will enjoy it because it comes across as authentic. But I said the second that goes away, I think this whole thing will dry up as well.
Speaking of the podcast, do you ever get nervous before doing it, and how do you prepare for your interviews?
We used to prepare diligently. I used to prepare a lot, but I really don't anymore, to be honest. I think that goes back a bit to, practicing law and being able to kind of listen to people and be able to respond with a question. I think there is a bit of a skill to that. So I don't prepare quite as much. Now, somebody who I may not be as familiar with, I'll do some research, like Michael Trenor, when I had him on, I didn't really know his background, so I grabbed some research there. But in terms of like question prep, I kind of feel like, and it's not an arrogance thing or anything like that, but I kind of feel like if I'm asking a question that I think I'm excited to hear the answer about, meaning if it's about the show or about their career, that's something that I think my listeners will want to listen to, because I just see myself as a fan. So when I'm excited to maybe ask a fan question or about that character or about possible storyline things, that comes across that hopefully it's the same question that the listener is going to want. So I don't quite do as much prep as say like Jason Kabasi, who hosts our panels and hosts the Walking Dead cast. The man does so much preparation and note work, and he's brilliant for it. But we just have different styles in that way. But I don't quite do the prep work that a lot of other people probably do. Maybe I should.
They just go with the flow.
Right.
You also, as you were saying, you recently started a new project with Heroes and Villains Fan Fest. Now, like you're saying, you're going to make them different and have guests that won't normally fit in with Walker Stalker Con. What else are you doing to make it different from Walker Stalker Con, and will there be any similarities?
Well, the biggest thing is that, I think you're going to feel that you're going to have that same boutique, small feel, although it's getting massive sometimes. But I think the biggest thing is that Heroes and Villains Fan Fest is different than all the other Comic-Cons because we want it to be interactive. So it's going to be, we're going to have zip lines and shooting ranges and climbing walls and, bungee things and just opportunities for people to recreate superhero moves and superhero type stuff. And we want it to be more of an interactive fest. It will still have some aspects of a Comic-Con with, vending and things like that. But we want it to be more interactive. We want more for people to do when they get on the floor and not feel like they either have to meet an actor, sit in a panel, or go walk around and shop. We want there actually to be real activities for people to do once they get in.
All right, and I've got some listener questions for you.
Go for it.
Tracy Phillips wants to know, how has your background as an attorney influenced your new career?
I think it just makes me cautious. At every step we've taken along the way, I've been extremely cautious about what we do
and make sure we're doing it the right way and that we're respecting, licenses and ownership rights to things and, protecting kind of our butts at the end of the day. I think that's where the attorney side comes in, and just making sure that we do everything the right way. I think that's important, because if you do every little step right, then the big picture is right. And yes, I've talked about the fan aspect of it, but there is this business aspect underneath. So doing it correct as a business and making the right and prudent decisions comes from my law background for sure.
I have Tanya Threlkeld. I know she's a pretty, I guess you could say, common caller on the Walker Stalkers podcast.
Definitely.
She says she's always wanted to ask you, before Walker Stalker Con or anything like that, since you were such a huge fan of entertainment, if you had ever thought about pursuing entertainment law.
I did. When I went to law school, I wanted to be a sports and entertainment lawyer. And kind of in the market, even the last 15 years, law jobs are few and far between. Got out of school, actually went and got my NFL players agent license, and wanted to be a sports and entertainment lawyer. But being young with a family, and it just was tough. I ended up I took another job to support us, and got stuck practicing a different type of law for about 13 years. But I always told my wife, if something came along that I loved and could take care of our family and support us, that I would leave it. And over the last couple of years, I've slowly moved away from the law practice. Matter of fact, last week just settled my last remaining law case, so I'm officially not practicing law anymore.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I have Matthew Vlasic asks, what movie or TV franchise would you want the most to get involved with in one of your cons, be it FanFest or Heroes and Villains FanFest or Walker Stalker Con?
Star Wars. I'm so excited about this new Star Wars. Matter of fact, if I would have thought that a Star Wars actor would have done well at a Walker Stalker Con, probably would have had him a long time. But I think after we did the Arrow experiment last year, we realized that we needed to stay away from some certain areas. But now with Heroes and Villains, I've already got offers out to some of the new Star Wars cast for future Heroes and Villains dates. So it's definitely Star Wars that I want to see at future shows.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, the new Star Wars is going to be pretty big.
Yep, totally.
And I have Samantha Bowman. She asked, which Walking Dead character would you be most like if you ever had to survive in the apocalypse?
Man. My wife's listening. She said Carol. Man, yeah, I didn't start off. I don't know. Maybe I would start off like Carol, meek and scared to death. Probably be freaking out because I'm not the preparer. That's for sure. I think we all like to think we're a Rick or a Daryl or something like that. I would probably be most like. Well, definitely wouldn't be like Tyrese because he never. Trying to think which character kind of graduated. I wanted to say I'd probably be most like Glenn, to be honest. I think he starts out, feeling his way through things, using some of his savviness to get through, but always still has the good of people at heart. And so I think I would say Glenn. I always used to say I would most identify with Rick, but he's just too messed up. He's got too many issues. So I would closely align with Glenn.
I have a Brian Daniels who asked, are there any guests you would like to interview who haven't been on the podcast yet?
Yes. Deny is our unicorn. I mean, we've not had Deny on. I would love to have Deny on the podcast. Matter of fact, I haven't even done a panel with her. It just for different reasons has not worked out to where I've been able to do the panel with Deny. But I would love to have Denai on. I really would. I'd love to have a good conversation too with Norman. I've had him on, the podcast years ago, and of course did his panel here in Atlanta. But would really love to have a good Q&A with him. That's not so fantasy driven like the panels are at Walker Stalker Con, because you get a lot of these theoretical stuff. But just a really good sit down with Norman. I think that'd be great.
He's always a hoot, and the panels you've moderated of his were pretty hilarious as well.
Yeah, they're fun.
Now, the last one I've got is from Candace Owens, and she asked, which podcast interview is your favorite so far, and why?
I don't know if I have any one particular. The ones that are fun are where the actors they're not so worried about how they're coming across. So we've had some great ones with like Sonequa Martin Green and Daniel Thomas May. Those were a lot of fun. Because they'll relax and ham it up. They'll do stuff. Emily Cooney's great too, because she gets real relaxed as well. Those are my favorite. We've had podcasts where actors have given us little snippets of maybe spoilies type stuff, and that's been great because we learn. And I always love talking to Greg Nicotero, because he gives you some insight that nobody else really has, and points you out to some of the Easter egg type stuff that other people may miss, or that he's put into an episode but and hasn't shared with people. So those are always the ones that I love the most.
I personally want to know, what is your opinion on Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan?
So excited. I think he's great. And the biggest reason why is, for anybody, that doesn't want to hear some spoiled stuff about Negan, don't listen to this. But the great thing about Negan is, as evil as he is, and as vile as his mouth is, he has this certain charming quality to him that I think is very important, because obviously he's the leader and he does intimidate by fear, but I think people beneath him still like him for some reason. So there's this certain charming characteristic that I think is so important that has to be portrayed and come across, that Jeffrey Dean Morgan has. I used to watch Grey's Anatomy when he was Denny Duquette on Grey's Anatomy, and he was just a charmer there, and he's got that quality to him. But at the same time, he's got that darker look, and I think, and he's got, of course, his build that I think will come across as this strong presence. So I am totally excited. I think he's going to do a great job. I really don't know, really, I know there's speculation on other people, but if you just look at him, he could be a Negan. And I think that charming characteristic is going to be so important, because it's just who he is in the comic books. And I really hope that they'll stick real close to the comic books for him.
Me too. I'm still trying to figure out how Standards and Practices is going to let, how they're going to censor Negan's talking.
Yeah, I'm sure they've figured it out by now. I'm sure they've thought long and hard, much more than you and I have, as to how they're going to do it. And I'm sure we'll hear, you may be surprised, we may hear a word or two we haven't heard that, I know they've tried to drop on some other shows that they may actually let through. So who knows? Who knows exactly how to do it?
All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up. I do want to thank you again for coming on to the podcast.
All right, ma'am. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. I'll see you in New York.
All right. See you then. Bye.
All right, guys. That is going to wrap it up for episode 43 of Creech Questions. We've had an amazing Walking Dead wrap-up, an amazing interview with James Frazier, and all that's left is to announce who you will be listening to next week. Obviously, the Walking Dead wrap-up will return. I'm going to try to arrange somebody from The Walking Dead to come on and review it. I'm going to try to make this guest, I guess you could say, set up for The Walking Dead wrap-up a permanent thing. But I also want to announce that next week, we will see the return of two of my favorite guests. We've got Lincoln Castellanos, who is Tobias from Fear the Walking Dead, and my personal friend, Eric Jensen, who played Dr. Edwards in The Walking Dead Season 5. There are two great interviews that we conducted in Walker Stalker Atlanta. Can't wait to see Eric again in 2 weeks as well in New York, New Jersey, and Lincoln's going to be there as well. Great interviews to look forward to. This is the point in time where I say we'll see you next week on Creech Questions, which we most certainly will. But I'm going to let Jordan Woods Robinson take us out by telling you a little bit more about SOS Studios and why you should subscribe to the new membership plan and what it entails. And we, of course, will see you next week on Creech Questions. And for everybody here that listened today, thank you. And we'll see you next time on Creech Questions.
I'm looking for songwriters. That's who I want to help. I'm a songwriter. A lot of my friends are songwriters. And we've always done these collaborations online where we record each other's songs and we lay down professional tracks on them, and then we upload them to iTunes and Amazon and Google Play so that we can actually start to sell our songs and to get them to our fans so that they can start to enjoy them. And now we've just opened it up to the public. And so that's the main thing, is that we want to keep playing on each other's tracks. We're all professional musicians and we all have professional home studios, and we just want to keep seeing songwriters gain control over their own careers. I think there's so many things that can stand in your way of not knowing how to get your tracks online, and then not getting all of the money that's owed to you, and then having to spend thousands of dollars to record your next song and album. And so we've taken all of these and we provide all of these services in one membership, and it's just a community of songwriters. We're supporting each other, and the whole thing is $5 a month. So we're trying to make it super affordable, and just trying to spread the word and help people. That's our goal. It's just me and a group of my friends.
All right. Well.
And yeah, of course, SOSstudio.co. SOS, as in Save Our Ship or whatever that is for. SOSstudio.co. You can sign up there and start your free trial for 4 weeks. Anyone who's interested, I'm all over the place. You can email me. You can call me. All sorts of things. You can ask as many questions as you want, and I'd love to meet you and to collaborate with you.
All right. Well, thank you again, Jordan.
Yeah, man. Thank you. And Alyssa, wonderful. Have we worked on that together?
We have not. No.
Okay. All right.
I wish we would have. Maybe someday.
Yes, she says not yet.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. And Vernon, awesome meeting you, man. Sorry, I'm not confirmed yet for London, but I hope you get to meet lots of awesome people there. And I think it's great that we're finally doing a London Walker Stalker. It's so cool.
Exactly.
Cool getting to speak to you as well.
So have a
point in the near future. I get a chance to actually meet you in person. That would be awesome.
I love it. Point. Yes, sir. Let's do it. So have a great time and be in touch.
All right. Bye, Jordan.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, Jordan.
Bye.
Hey, it's Anika Martin Green. You are listening to the best podcast, Creech Questions.
Hey, y'all, this is Lou Temple. Greg Nicotero.
Patty Moore.
T-Love. Sarah Jensen.
Emma Bell.
Ming Chen. Vincent M. Ward. Jeff Cobra.
Jose Pablo Cantillo.
Danny Robert. Lawrence Gilliard Jr. Esther Carbonell. Harold Parano. Daniel Thomas May. Alan Moss.
Sarah Wayne Callies.
Chad L. Coleman.
I'm RJ Billy from Breaking Bad.
Baseball Sal.
AMC's Comic Book Man.
The Walking Dead, and you're listening to Creech Questions.
You better listen up good or I'm come get you.
Hey everyone out there, this is CJ Creech, and you too can listen to our celebrity interviews on our podcast, Creech Questions. Check us out on CreechCreativeProductions.com and Facebook.com/CreechCreativeProductions. Check us out on CreechCreativeProductions.com and Facebook.com/CreechCreativeProductions.